little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. Hope all of you are doing really well today. Thank you for joining me. I'm doing pretty darn spiffy because I get to show you how to do another cool stitch. This is another example of interlocking crochet. This is, well, it's kind of two patterns actually. This is Parquet on the front side, very reminiscent of parquet flooring tiles in the mosaic fashion, and on the back side has quite a different look. Looks sort of like a basket weave. So whether you're going with the passive color or the dominant color creates two really cool dynamic looks. And for this particular project, I used Lion Brand's Pound of Love, and this video is sponsored by Lion Brand. I want to thank them ever so much for their support over the years. Thank you ever so much. Link to this fabulous yarn is in the description box down below. And for this project, I used Lion Brand's Pound of Love in the colorway of Antique White. And I also used one of my absolute favorites. This is Pumpkin Spice. Now, for my project, I used two of each color. I didn't use the full skein of the second skein of each color, but I did need to go into a second skein of each color. And reason why I love using this is because you get the yardage. It's a weight of 4 over 1,000 yards. It's acrylic, so it's easy to care for, wash, dry, etc. And the colors, absolutely love. The pumpkin spice is my favorite, indeed. And I do really like the antique white because it's not very stark and blinding as, you know, a white. So it has, you know, has a nice confluence about it. At any rate, also I used for this particular project, this is a 6mm size J crochet hook. You can, of course, use whatever works best for you based on your gauge and your tension. And because one size doesn't fit all, I'm going to give you the multiple so that you can make your project as wide or as narrow as you want to, complete with pattern repeats, so that you can make this piece really whatever size you want. That all being said, let's get started, shall we? Okay, so first things first, we're going to do the base chain and a quick overview of what interlocking crochet is. It's essentially making 2 layers of crochet fillet mesh that are then interlocked together as we're working them up, and it creates these really cool designs. So as you can see here on the base here, it is actually 1 row of fillet work, and then on the back side, well, we have another layer of fillet work, and over, you know, the process of interlocking them, it creates the really cool designs. Now, for this particular pattern, we're going to need, it's a multiple of 6 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., etc. And that'll give us pairings of these boxes. And so how this works, if you will, also because on the edges we have an edge box as well. So the base chain, you're going to need, it's a multiple of 12 chains plus an additional 8 chains. And that will get you set up for you know, doing however many of these multiples of 6 boxes as you want. That being said, you know, once you get it going, it's really not that difficult. Now, what I would strongly suggest is make up a swatch first. Okay, it will get you used to the mechanics of how the stitch works, how interlocking crochet works if you haven't, you know, done this sort of thing before. Do a swatch first. And then based on your swatch, once you get used to the process, then you can figure out how many of these multiples you would need in order to obtain, you know, your full-sized blanket, okay? another thing I would strongly suggest is watch me do it first, then try to do it. But if you're going to try to do it as you watch it, it's very easy to get confused. So I'm trying to save you a little bit of grief here. It's not difficult, but it does require some patience, some practice, and, trust the process. It's one of those things, okay? That being said, enough of my yammer-yammering. That being said, so right here, I have my base chain for my main color, which needs to be one box larger than the passive color, okay? The non-main color, if you will. So I did my multiples of 12. So I did 2 multiples of 12. That's 24, not 20 floor, excuse me. I get tongue-tied, you see. So I've got 2 multiples of 12, which is going to give me 4 of these boxes here. And so that's 24 chains, plus my additional 8 chains. So I have right here 32 chains, okay? And then, like I said, for your passive color, you are going to need 1 box less. So this one is 32 chains. This one is a total of 30 chains, okay? And that will get you nice and set up. So, that being said, do your multiple of 12 chains plus your additional 8 chains, and we will get started on the base row of our fillet work. Okay. Okie dokie. So, going to do our base row for the fillet, and we're going to go into the 6th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, because we're going to be working into these stitches later for the border, I would also suggest working into the back loop of the chain, which will make it a lot easier to work in later. So going into that 6th chain from the hook with a double crochet, chain 1, skip one of the chains going into the next with a double, and that's really all there is to it for creating this foundation. Okay, so chain 1, skip a chain going into the next with a double, chain 1, skip a chain going into the next, again going into those back bumps with a double, and so on and so forth. And so yeah, the reason why going into those back bumps, you're maintaining the V's on the base edge, and yes, it will be a lot easier to work into, and it will be a little bit cleaner as well. This is not mandatory, but I would suggest it. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing this all the way across until I have all of my little boxes. And because I did 2 multiples of 12 plus my additional 8, I'm going to have a total of 14 boxes. Okay, so I'm going to get to work, you get to work, and I will see you in a bit. All right, so we are all set to begin. I have both of my dominant color and my passive color ready to go. The dominant color, as I said, it has 14 of these boxes. The passive color, I have 13 boxes. You need 1 less in order for this to work because they have to be offset from each other. This will make more sense as we go along. Also, even though we are currently doing row 1, well, this is row 1A, okay? Because we work both of these fillets one after the other. So it's going to be 1A, then 1B, 2A, 2B, or not 2B. So again, this will make more sense as we continue along. Now, before we actually get started with the actual crocheting, we're going to take these two tail ends from our rows and we're going to tie them together. Not crucial, but it does help keep these two together. You know, they're going to want to fight you, believe you me. So just do a simple knot, not terribly tight, but enough to keep them held together. Okay, get that out of the way. Okie dokie. Whoop, sorry about that. Camera malfunction. Okay, so we're just going to be working into the dominant color first. And we're going to be having these offset from each other so that you can see the opposite color through the bars, if you will. And at the beginning of this row, I'm going to chain up 3 for a double crochet and a chain 1 space. You could do 4, although I find that 3 looks a little bit neater. So after doing my 3 chains, quite simply double crochet into this first double crochet right here. And that creates the edge box. Okay, and then making sure that this is aligned with the open loop at the top and that it didn't get twisted on you, which does happen. Okay, and also chain 1. Always got to do the chain 1. It's easy to forget, believe you me. So we have our pieces offset. This is that white one that you see right there. That's the offset one. That's the first bar. So if I turn it around, you can see that it is shifted in a little bit. All right. Okay, so when we do our stitches with the dominant color, we're only working into the tops of the dominant posts, but we're going to be working, you know, either behind or in front of the opposite color. Now, for the first one, we're going to be going behind the dominant color, so it's going to be going through the passive color and then going into that second post there, go into the top of that stitch and then pull it through to the back. Okay, and don't worry, I'm going to be repeating this plenty, and finish your double crochet. So it's not that we're doing front and back post double crochets, we're doing front and back through the existing fillet work. So right now the passive is showing in the front, okay, and it's going to create a horizontal bar. Chain 1, and we're going to do that again. So yarn over, going in through the back, grab the top of that next stitch, pull it to the back a little bit, and finish your double. There we go. Okay, so that was 2 of those. Now, so we've got technically here 1, 2, and this will make the third box. So chain 1, and then into the next. We're not going to go around the back and lock it in. We're going to go just into the front of this next one. So as you can see here, we have a nice horizontal stripe. And then chain 1, again going into the front of the next. Chain 1, going into the front of the next. Chain 1, and again into the front of the next. So that we have 3 boxes that are not going to have the white in them. So that the pumpkin spice, the orange, is going to be the more dominant color. Okay, I know this must sound very weird, but trust the process. And then we're going to finish up the rest of row 1A. Okay, so to continue on creating another one of these horizontal stripes, because it's not locked together as of yet, it is going to be a little bit more fiddly, but later on, once we have ourselves more established, it will be a lot easier, trust me. This right now, I would say, is the most difficult part of the process. So again, making sure that we can see our stitches, our passive stitches through, so that we know that it's lined up. Okay. Going to then go through this next box here. Go through that box. Go into the top of that next stitch and pull it to the back. And finish up that double crochet stitch. And do that again, going in through the back of that next open space, pull it to the front, well, to the back, excuse me, and finish up that stitch. And it does not hurt to pause and take a look at the back. So as you can see, we have a total of 2 of these posts. We've got 2 of these posts, and we've got 4 open boxes, which is actually what we need. So continuing right along, chain 1, and then we're going to go into the fronts of the next. So to the top of that stitch, chain 1, into the top of that next stitch, chain 1, into the next, chain 1, into the top of the next. So we have our 3 boxes, and then we need the border one as well. So chain 1, and skipping a chain, going into that next chain with your double. And there you go. So yeah, technically, yes, there are 4 boxes there, but yes, this is the border, so you don't have to worry about that. And yes, I know this is very, very flippy floppy at the moment, but it will become more cohesive once we do row 1B. Yes, I had to think about that for a second. All right. Okay, so time for row 1B. So we're going to be working with the passive color, the white. So I'm going to begin by chaining up 3. And we're going to be working in the same direction that we worked in for row 1A. And so after chaining up 3, we're going to do our first double crochet into that first post right there. Not the first, but the first one that we're going to be working with. So right into the top of that stitch. And again, you only work into the tops of the stitches of the color that you're currently working with. Okay, so this accounts for our border box. Then chain 1, scoot you back into place. Now, because we want this first box to be of horizontal stripes, well, we don't want to interrupt this orange bar. So we're going to be going around the back of the orange. So yarn over, going around the back of the orange, and we're going to be going to the top of this white stitch. So going around the back of the orange, then going into the top of the white. So it's easier if you sort of pull your fillet layers apart a little bit and get into the top of that stitch, like so, and pull it to the back. So scooting it to the back there, and then finish up your double crochet like that, like so, so that you're not interrupting the flow of these horizontal stripes. Chain one and do the same thing again. So going in through the back, going into the top of that white post right there, bringing it to the back, and finish up your double crochet like so. And that way our horizontal stripes are not interrupted. Chain one. Well, now this next box, it's going to be 3 vertical stripes, hence the parquet. So we worked into this one, so this is the next one. So we're going to go not through the back, but around the front, and grab the top of this next post to the front, like so, and double crochet in the top of that stitch. So now we're going to have vertical stripes. Chain one, grab the next one through the front, grab it to the front, and double crochet. Chain one, and then grab the next one to the front, and double crochet. So we've got our 3 vertical stripes. Now we need to go back to doing the horizontals. So chain one, going around into the back, grab the top of that stitch, pull it to the back, finish up your double, chain one, going around the back, grab the top of that stitch, pull it to the back, and double crochet, chain one, once again, yarning over, going into the back, grab the top of that stitch, pull it to the back, and that's your third one. Chain one. Okay, now we've got a case of the wibbly wobblies because these are not connected yet, but they will be. Okay, so we worked into the top of this stitch last, so this is going to be the next one. So we're going to be going around to the front so that we have our vertical stripes. So yarning over, going in through the front, grab the top of this next stitch, pull it to the front, and double, chain one, going in through the front, grab that stitch from the back, pull it to the front, and finish your double, chain one, going in through the front, grabbing that next stitch, and then pulling it to the front. Oops, I almost had it, I swear. Okay, so we've got our 3 vertical bars right there, and then we still need that border block. So I chained one, and then going to So this was our post that we just worked into. And then going to skip a chain, and then going into the top of the next, going in there with a double crochet. And yeah, I'll show you what the back looks like so that you can see for reference. So we have our finished border blocks right there. And that is the end of row 1B. Now, so this is what your piece roughly should look like. So you got your border blocks here, and then you've got your horizontal, your vertical, your horizontal, your vertical, and again, your border blocks. So this is the dominant side, and this is sort of the recessive side. Now, on this side right now, the border does get sort of interrupted a little bit, but you still have the border here, okay? On this side, it looks a little bit different, but this will make more sense as we get further along, but this is how it should look, okay? Okay, so you've got your 4 white blocks here, 4 here, your 2 orange stripes, okay? You know, trying to be thorough, not redundant, yeah, so we shall continue on with rows 2A and 2B. All right, so for row 2A, going to be working with the dominant color first. You always work with the dominant color first and then the passive color. Now, the dominant color is actually on the back side, but that's all right. We're still just going to be working with that yarn, working into those stitches, either in front of or behind the opposite color. So start off again by chaining up 3, and turn. Okay. Now, again, we want to maintain these horizontal stripes, so we're not going to be going in front of the white, we're going to be going behind the white. But first we need to do our border block. So double crochet into that next stitch, like so, chain 1. Now, so that we don't interrupt the horizontal stripes, we're going to go around the back, grab the top of that stitch, and bring it to the back, and double crochet into the top of that stitch, so that we're still maintaining our horizontal stripes. Chain 1, do the same thing into the next and the one thereafter. So around the back, go into the top of that stitch, pull it to the back, and finish your double. Chain 1, and once more. Round the back, go into the top of that stitch, and if you need to, turn your work to make sure that you're actually going into the top of that stitch. It's okay. I do it myself. And going in and finishing that double crochet. So again, maintaining our horizontal stripes. Now to continue on, we need to have our vertical stripes here. So that being said, chain 1, and we're going to go into the front of the next 2. So going into the front, grabbing that stitch, and finishing your double. Now, something that you want to be aware of as you're doing your fronts and your backs and so forth is you don't want to capture the other color while doing this. And what I'm talking about is this. While going into the front of your stitch, you then also go over the bar of your opposite color. And you do not want to do that. Because from this side, yeah, it looks fine, right? Well, look at the other side. That didn't work. Not for what we're trying to accomplish here, okay? So that is something that you want to be mindful, that you're only working around the color that you're currently using. You don't want to work around the opposite color. So let me undo that stitch. Okay, so just grabbing that stitch. So it looks like this from the front and that from behind. So we're not going to be interrupting these horizontal bars on this side or these verticals on this side. Okay? Chain 1. Now we've got some more horizontals, so we need to go in from the back. So yarning over, going around the back, going to the top of that stitch, pulling it to the back, and double, chain 1, around the back of the next, going into the top of that stitch, pulling it to the back, and double, chain 1, around the back, grab the top of that next stitch, pull it to the back, and double, pull out a little more yarn, and we need to do one more. So chain 1, going in through the back, going into the top of that stitch, pulling it to the back, and double, chain 1, and then we have our fronts again, because we need these to be verticals. So yarning over, going into the front, just grabbing the orange, pulling it to the front, and double, chain 1, grabbing the next, pulling it to the front, and double, chain 1, and we still have 2 more. Okay, so going to be going into the back for the next 2, but we're not going to be going through the white color. So after chaining 1, sort of scooch this layer, this front layer, aside and going into the next, chain 1, and then going into the second chain from the bottom with your double. And that's going to give you the border block. Okay? And so this is what your piece should look like at this point. So we haven't made a tremendous amount of progress yet, I know, but it's early days. And if you turn the piece over, you can see that we are maintaining our horizontal and vertical lines nicely. So let's proceed on with row 2B. Okay, so for row 2B, we're going to be working with the white again. So start off by chaining up 3 and turning. Okay, again, we don't want to interrupt our horizontal stripes, so we have to work in through the back. So yarning over, going in through the back of the orange, grab the top of the stitch of the next white, like so, right there, and double. Okay, chain 1, do it again, going in through the back, grab the top of the white stitch to the back and double, chain one more, going around through the back, grab the top of that white stitch, pull it to the back and double. And there you go, maintaining our horizontal stripes. Now we need to go into the verticals. So chain one. Now we're just doing the fronts. So just grabbing the front of that white stitch, going into the top, pulling it to the front, and do your double. And again, being careful not to go over the other color. Chain one, going into the front, pull that stitch to the front and double, chain one, going into the front once again, all right, so you've got your 3 bars there of the white. Now we need to go into the back again for our horizontal stripes. So chain one, going around the back through, grab the top of that stitch, pull it to the back, and double, chain one, through the back, grab the top of the stitch, pull it to the back, and double, chain one, go through the back, grab the top of that stitch, pull it to the back, and double. Okay, and now we need to do our fronts again for those vertical stripes. So chain one, going into the front of the next, pull it to the front, chain one, next one to the front, and chain one, next one to the front, chain one, and then our border block. So second chain from the bottom, double crochet. You could technically go into the chain space with your double, but this, again, it looks neater. So this is what I recommend. And there you go. And that is the end of row 2B. Looking pretty spiffy. So that is the passive side, and this is the dominant side. Okay, onwards and upwards. Okay, so row 3A, again, we're going to be working with our dominant color first. Start off by chaining up 3. 1, 2, 3. Double crochet into this first stitch so that we have our border blocks here. So double crochet, there we are. And again, we're going to be maintaining our horizontal stripes. So again, we have to go in through the back. So chain one, going in through the back into the top of that orange stitch, pull it to the back, and double. Chain one, going in through the back of the next, going into the top of that stitch, pulling it to the back, and double. There. Chain one. Now we've got our vertical stripes. So going into the front, pulling it to the front, and double, chain 1, into the front of the next, pulling it to the front, and double, chain 1, going into the front of the next, pulling it to the front, and double, chain 1, and into the front of the next, pulling it to the front, and double. There we are. Then into the back with the next 2. So chain 1, going around into the back, going to the top of that stitch, pulling it to the back, and double, chain 1, going around the back, into the top of the next stitch, pull it to the back, and double, chain 1, and then we need our verticals again. So front into the next 5. So into the front of the next, pull it to the front, double, chain 1, going into the front of the next, double, chain 1, into the front of the next, pull it to the front and double, chain 1, into the front of the next, pull it to the front, double, chain 1, and then last but not least, second chain from the bottom, double crochet, and there you go. Okay, so your piece is really coming along because this is, well, it's a full block. Indeed it is. But we still have to do our passive color, which is what we're going to do right now. So let's continue on with row 3B. All right, so for row 3B, as per usual, start off by chaining up 3 and turn. Okay, we need to maintain our border blocks here, so double crochet into the top of that next one, and then scooch your layers together. And well, yep, we're going to be doing something a little bit different for this row, and that is because, well, we don't want to interfere with this line that creates our blocks here. So for this row, we're actually going to be doing all of our passive color, the white, all in the back. Okay, so chain 1, and then grabbing from the back, grabbing the top of that stitch, pulling it to the back, chain 1, going in through the back, grabbing the top of that stitch, pulling it to the back, and double, chain 1, not quite going through because we're just grabbing the layer. I mean, you could just turn your work like this for this horizontal bar right here anyway. Just going in, chain 1, going into the next, chain 1, and going into the next, chain 1. Okay, now the next, they're a little bit more fiddly. So going around, grabbing, going to the top of that stitch, pulling it to the back, and double, chain 1, Going around the back, grabbing the top of that stitch, pulling it to the back, and double, chain 1, going in, grabbing the top of that next stitch, and double, chain 1, grabbing the next, and double, always to the back for this particular row. Chain 1, going to the top of the next, chain 1, going to the top of the next, chain 1, and going into the second chain from the bottom for our border here, and double, and there you go. Now, by doing what we did, we maintained our boxes, and then as we keep going, we're going to, go in the opposite direction, but we do need that demarcation of our blocks here for the appearance, the illusion of the parquet. So this is the dominant side, and right now this is the passive side, and this will, as I said before, this will, create the sort of basket weave. And yeah, so we're up to a good start, I would say. Yeah. All right. So that's the end of row 3B. Alrighty, my dears, so that is going to conclude the first part of this tutorial series. I like to take my time with you guys, and I like to be thorough and do repetition and so forth. That being said, we're going to continue on with more of our patterning in part 2, and also I'm going to show you how to also do the edging, how you can make it a cohesive piece as opposed to two flippy-floppy layers, and so I'm going to show you that as well. That being said, I really hope that you're enjoying this tutorial so far. I love this technique. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's worth the effort. It's definitely worth it as far as the overall look and the really lovely squishy texture of this piece. Hands down, it is phenomenal. So, as always, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are enjoying the video, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know that I appreciate your appreciation. And a big thank you to Lion Brand for sponsoring this video series. And again, link in the description box down below. Timestamps, as always, in the description box down below. And you know what to do until next time, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in part 2 of the tutorial. And until then, you have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.